Evidence for God in DNA itself. Lecture 3. Professor Dr. C. A. Nenan Trivandrum. Today I shall deal with the links of the DNA ladder to life at large. That is, the concept of God as life down to the ladder pattern of the DNA molecule itself. In fact, the primary pattern of DNA is the ladder. Biologists call this the ladder of life. To them, the ladder is just a pattern of DNA and nothing more. And they might say the ladder is the outcome of chance, as is life. In fact, the ladder, like all other patterns of DNA, has subtle links unknown to science today, of which I shall deal in this lecture. The first question to be asked is, why a ladder? The answer to this must be used as answer to the wider question, what is life? And then to the theological question, why Jacob saw God at the top of a ladder. In fact, biologists have never asked the first question, and the other questions have never been answered by scientists or theologians. The answer to these and related questions of life lie in the interface between biology and religion. This is the realm of the unconscious and archetypes, which is the concern of Jungian psychologists. But it is time that biologists start knowing these inner secrets of life, as it is of great value in seeking knowledge on the nature, origin, and meaning of life hidden to science today. I give below a concise account of the concept of archetypes for the benefit of students of biology and theology and students on the phenomenon of life at large. Psychologists teach that archetypes are primordial images with much psychic content. They act as indicators of psychic relations and are agents of unification of the conscious world of life with the unconscious. The latter is not only a repository of the past, but also full of gems of ideas for the future. It is said that the psyche produces symbols as a plant produces flowers. It can present completely new thoughts and creative ideas that have never been conscious before. Folk legends, primitive rituals, etc. are related to patterns of life in the unconscious. Words, images, patterns, or numbers are symbolic when they imply something more than their obvious and immediate meanings. They are then said to have a wider unconscious aspect. New archetypal links of consciousness can thus be traced as new knowledge on life is generated through advances in life science. They help us to walk back into the history of life and so to reveal the mystery of life. They help us to peep deep into the mysticism of religions aided by science. To the best of my knowledge, this is the first attempt to discover and use DNA archetypes for probing into the highway secrets of life. This is possible only to those who are familiar with the concept of archetypes on the one hand and details of DNA patterns on the other. DNA is a very versatile molecule which strangely lends itself for archetypal analysis. It was thus possible for me to bring together the archetypal symbols derived from or perceived from the DNA molecule in the I plus HSO series in total overlapping with the Christogram symbols of the church and to equate life as logos and thus to bring together in science and religion in connubial harmony. Now I shall come to the consideration of the ladder of life of molecular biology and its implications to life at the soul level, starting from divinity down to DNA. I shall first present before you the concept of, it is not a concept, actually it is a vision, a dream of Jacob who saw the Lord at the top of a ladder. In fact, the Christian history of the ladder goes back to Genesis itself. This is the famous ladder of Jacob, Genesis 28, 12 to 14, which he saw in vision at Bethel. Bethel, incidentally, means house of God. This ladder was set up on the earth. The top of it reached to heaven, and the Lord stood above upon it. The angels of the God ascending and descending on it. It's an important fact which you must remember for later discussions. The angels of the Lord were ascending and descending upon it. And the Lord said to Jacob, I am the Lord God of Abraham, thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give, and to thy seed. Now you have to take special note of the word seed as uttered by the Lord, especially in relation to the concept of DNA as the seed of life, itself a phrase borrowed from the Bible, as we know. Now, coming to the word seed, it is here mystically used to imply the seed of life of biology. So, the name DNA has itself a divine link, that is, of the ladder of life itself. This should be why L.L. Larison Cudmore called it a three-lettered deity. Its divine link is mystically indicated by D standing for deity, N standing for name, and A standing for alpha or beginning. So even the word DNA has a connotation that relates it to the word concept. Eliphas Levi has identified Jacob's ladder with God himself in his famous book, The Paradoxes of the Highest Science. He thus wrote, everything proves to us that there exist other intelligent beings than men. The hierarchy of spirits must be infinite, as that of the bodies. The mysterious ladder of Jacob is the biblical symbol of this hierarchy, ascending and descending. God rests upon that ladder, or rather, He sustains it. We may say that ladder is in Him, or rather, that it is He Himself. For it is as a God and to manifest God that the infinite ascends and descends. That is his interpretation. It's a rather philosophical interpretation. One might say that he speaks about intelligent beings other than man, but we need not wonder at this because Watson and Crick, who discovered the molecular structure of DNA, have also referred to intelligent beings and of cosmic links of the patterns of DNA, as I have mentioned in one of my earlier talks. Crick says that in his doctrine of directed panspermia, he says that the seed of life was sown in this planet by intelligent beings in other solar systems. That means that he believes or he teaches that there are intelligent beings in other planets too. Coming back to Eliphas Levi, he also wrote, Revelation does not retreat. She is not impoverished, but adds always something to the mysterious riches of her dogma. Always, the enigma is made more complicated to prevent fools from guessing it, for all dogma is a philosophical enigma. The doctrines of molecular biology on life seem today to combine all enigmas of philosophy, theology, and mysticism, as the reader might agree as he proceeds to the end of this talk. There seems to exist a doctrine to doctrine inner correspondence, an inner correspondence between molecular biology and divine theology. Now I come to the relation of the ladder of God to the soul level of life. The idea of relating God and soul with the ladder, or even identifying them with the ladder, goes back to the period of the pyramids. This archetypal symbol thus stretches back to very ancient times. In his Book of the Dead, originally written in hieroglyphics, Wills Budge brings out the ancient Egyptian concept of God as the Lord of the ladder. The souls of the dead were also believed to go up the ladder into the heavens. God is the provider of the ladder. Even the souls are identified with the name ladder. So there is intimate links between the ladder archetype and the soul. In the Pyramid of the Unas, the Book of the Dead, it is thus said, Ra setteth upright the ladder for Osiris, that is, the deceased was called Osiris. Deceased means the dead. And Horus raiseth up the ladder for his father Osiris. When Osiris goeth to find his soul, one standeth on one side, and the other standeth on the other, and Unas in betwixt them. And in the Pyramid of Pepi 1, we read, Hail to thee, O ladder of God! Hail to thee, O ladder of Set! Stand up, O ladder of Horus, whereon Osiris went forth into heaven. This Pepi is thy son, this Pepi is Horus. Thou hast given birth unto the God who is the Lord of the ladder. So the God is called the Lord of the ladder. Thou hast given him the ladder of God, and thou hast given him the ladder of Set. Whereon this Pepi hath gone forth into heaven. Every khu, 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 and every god stretcheth out his hand into his Pepi when he cometh forth into heaven by the ladder of God. That which he seeth and that which he heareth make him wise, and serve as food for him when he cometh forth into heaven by the ladder of God. Pepi riseth up like the Uraeus, Uraeus, which is on the brow of Set, and every Khu, Khu, and every god stretcheth out his hand unto Pepi on the ladder. Pepi hath gathered together his bones, he hath collected his flesh, and Pepi hath gone straightway into heaven by means of the two fingers of God, who is the Lord of the ladder. Quotation ends. The Egyptian and biblical ladder and such usages in the former as two fingers of God. The ladder is symbolized as two fingers of God, implying the side pieces of the ladder, and the symbolic one standeth on one side and the other standeth on the other of the ladder, with Unas between them, prefigures the church symbol mentioned earlier, that is the double helical ladder, reduced to the church symbol IHS. Monod and Ingersoll should refer the Book of the Dead now. They did not understand Genesis and its Jacob's ladder correctly, and so Ingersoll, in his lectures and essays, a famous book, even wrote that no intelligent person can remain a Christian. And Monod, Nobel laureate who discovered the operon theory, in his book Chance and Necessity, pooh-poohed what he called the disgusting farrago of Judeo-Christian religiosity. I shall come to these details later, but here I shall present the evidences against what they have said, completely and totally misunderstanding the Bible and its contents. Now I shall come to a comparison of Jacob's ladder of the Bible with the ladder of life called DNA. And again, before that, I shall enumerate or elucidate or bring out the relation between the soul and the ladder. That is our point, important point. The ladder is the vehicle, as it were, of the soul, and some say the ladder is the soul itself. The ladder is identified as the soul. And what is important is that the primary structure of DNA is the ladder. And the question is, why a ladder? And these are answers to this question. It is a basically scientific question, but the answer lies in metaphysics and religion, and it helps us to understand the concept of God, the Bible, and of God as life as taught by the church, and then to relate DNA-based life at the soul level through the ladder concept of the religions, metaphysics, theology, theosophy, sacramental sciences, liturgiology, and so on. So we are trying to integrate knowledge on all this as far as it concerns the relation between the soul and the ladder pattern. There are actually very many other instances in ancient cultures and scriptures of the link between the ladder and the soul. In all such cases, the ladder is the vehicle of the soul or of life at the soul level. Taking into account the relation of the ladder to the soul, it is now possible to link the DNA ladder to life at the soul level in a ladder-to-ladder link. So here the link is between DNA ladder and the ladder of the soul. As we linked in the previous lecture with the Christogram of the church with the cryptogram of DNA. So in all this you have a very close link and very close overlapping such that one concept loses its identity in the other. The objective ladder of life called DNA can thus be linked in archetypal overlapping with the subjective ladder of the soul. This is the aim of this study, which gives us ideas to give a definition of what the ladder is in relation to. Ladder is a basically subjective concept, a religious concept. So in relation to the ladder concept of life science, and thus to accredit religious teachings on life with a new recent discoveries in science. This was possible, or this is possible, only after the discovery of DNA patterns. The other teachings of religions are thousands of years old, 2,000, 3,000 years old, linking the life to the ladder, soul to the ladder, and so on. And now only during the discoveries in the last 7 decades, they have helped us to relate them rationally and in a model-based, what should I say, in a model-based realism. Okay. What we need to do now is only to detach the soul from the metaphysical ladder and attach it archetypally to the physical ladder of life called DNA. The ladder here becomes the logical link between DNA and the soul, and so the bridge between science and religion. Now I shall proceed to give a real life comparison between Jacob's ladder and Watson-Crick ladder to make it more concrete, these life ladder links. Before that, I shall give you a picture of Jacob's ladder that appears on page 18 of my book, Cosmic Code of Life, as figure 2.1. Another picture is given in figure 2.2 to elucidate the situation more clearly. And now the comparisons between Jacob's ladder, that is the ladder of God or the ladder of the Lord, the dream ladder of Jacob, and the molecular ladder of Watson-Crick. Comparison of Jacob's ladder of the Bible with Watson-Crick ladder of science reveals the following facts. Number 1. The DNA molecule is a ladder, after which it is called a ladder of life of biology. Here the ladder is physical and material. Number 2. The angels in Jacob ladder are soul level beings, and so the ladder pattern of DNA links up archetypally with the life at the soul level. So this is a very important point. In Jacob's ladder, he saw angels ascending and descending. So it compares well with the anti-parallel strands of DNA. But here I shall first deal with the fact that angels are soul level beings or fiery beings. Their element of creation is fire, one group of angels. There are higher groups of angels or higher churches of angels with their body as air, that is element air of creation. They are also called winds. Here, this type of angels whose body is made up of fire is called flames also. Okay, now The angels in Jacob ladder are soul level beings or fiery beings, and so the ladder pattern of DNA links up archetypally with the life at the soul level. That is the link between the soul and ladder. The ladder as vehicle of the soul. Now, point number 3. The ascending and descending angels in Jacob's ladder provide comparison with the anti-parallel strands of DNA ladder. We simply say that DNA strands are anti-parallel, but science does not know anything further about it. So here is a comparison including the details of the anti-parallel nature of DNA strands. Next point. The base of the visionary ladder on the earth links up with the DNA bases at the material or earth level. The dream ladder of Jacob was based on the earth and its top reached up to heaven. So the base of the visionary ladder on the earth links up with the DNA bases at the material level or at the earth level. In place of God, that is the Supreme Self, who stood at the top of Jacob's ladder, we can posit the individual self in DNA ladder. So, this is a very important point. At the other end of the ladder, at the heavenly end of the ladder, was the Lord, that is the Supreme Self, or Supreme Consciousness as the Supreme Self. Likewise, we must posit the individual self on the top of the DNA ladder. Top here means a higher level from material to metaphysical or spiritual level. Actually, at the highest level called the self level, where you can posit, you must posit through logical reasoning the self at the top of the ladder, physical ladder called DNA. The next point, the spiral versions of Jacob's ladder remind of DNA as a coiled ladder. There are actually other versions of the ladder of Jacob. There is a spiral version that reminds of the spiral of DNA, to which I shall come in the next class. Thank you.